Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today in this webinar about inventory management and planning. I'm very excited to share this content with you today. And we are giving 2 extra minutes as I see some people are still logging in, but we're going to start really soon. Today, our panelist is none other than Andrés Castrillón, our president here at Consensus International. Andrés, are you there? I don't know if Andrés is having issues with the connection. So I'll tell you a little bit about Andrés while he gets connected. Andrés is a computer engineer with an MBA in industrial administration from Purdue. Before founding Consensus 30 years ago in Colombia and 14 years ago here in the US, he worked for IBM and Philips. And he's been overall throughout his career involved personally in more than 100 systems implementations for companies such as yours. And he probably was involved in most of your implementations personally. So I think probably you all know him already personally. Here at Consensus, he sets very high standards for customer satisfaction, and his goal is that we all exceed your expectations. We find that inventory management is very often one of the pains that companies come to us with, and this webinar is going to provide you with very valuable information to help you excel in managing your inventory. I'm gonna take this time to share a few housekeeping notes about the webinar. As all the webinars that we're doing, all our customer webinars, this session is being recorded. All participants are muted by default, so that we guarantee a flow, but you can ask questions at any time, at any point. You can use the Q&A feature in your Zoom dashboard, and we will attend to those questions at the end of the webinar. I'm going to be now turning off my camera and asking Andrés if he can hear me to turn on his, so we can say hi to him.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Andrés.
Excellent. Yeah, I've been talking, but I don't know why it wasn't working. I can't start my video now. I don't know why. So
okay.
I'm going to start sharing. I need to start sharing as well.
Okay. I'll stop sharing in a minute. I just wanted to make a very quick reminder of some links that I'm going to be sharing through the chat right when I give the floor to Andrés about our newsletter. If you are not subscribed to our newsletter, please take the chance to do that so that you receive punctually the information about webinars. I'm also going to be sharing the website where we actually host all our webinars, those that have already passed but you might be interested in, and also a link to our YouTube channel, which are really very good tools to keep informed. So Andrés, I'll stop sharing right now so that you can start sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Let me know if you can see my screen, please.
Yes, we can see it, Andrés.
Okay. I have to start video. I can't at this point. Doesn't let me.
I think it's okay.
All right, so thank you very much. Welcome to this webinar, and thank you, Clara, for the introductions. This webinar is going to take about 45 minutes, even though I'm going to be using some of the SAP slides and presentations. I'm actually going to focus more I'm going to be focusing more on the specifics of concepts and things that are more conceptual, more than anything else. So yeah, as Clara mentioned, I'm the founder of Consensus, and I've been involved in many implementations in the past. So we've seen so many different cases and requirements and all of that. And one of the benefits that the customers get when the SAP is implemented, or system and ERP system is implemented, is actually reducing the cost of the inventory, which means making the company more profitable. Most of the implementations that we do, the payback time is about 9 months, and it's an investment with a high return investment. And many of the benefits come actually from good inventory practices. But we have also noticed that as time passes by, we don't take that much advantage of what SAP has to offer to really manage the inventory correctly. So I want to bring to your attention certain concepts that are really important for all of us, especially in these interesting times. So the first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that in June 4, 1979, Business Week was a very popular magazine, very, very popular. It was replaced by Google, I guess, or by the internet and some other publications. But they demonstrated in a survey that implementing a system usually really increase inventory by 1/3, which means improving the profitability of the business dramatically. Improving delivery 17% means less errors, less mistakes, more accuracy, and more up to date when expectations and meeting expectations of customers. And very important, reducing delivery time by about 10%. So these are some of the benefits that a customer implementing like ours gets. Stratascoping did the same type of survey 34 years later, and the results were very, very similar. And again, when we did this study ourselves with some of our customers, we actually got even better results than that. So what are the challenges that we have in a business? And every business has the same type of challenges, unless you're a service company. So the first one is you run out of inventory, and you can't meet the delivery of the whatever you promised your customers. And there are many expenses linked to that, out of stock. The first is you're going to, affect the service of your customers, and probably they're going to have to go out and look for the whatever you're selling from a competitor. So you don't want that to happen. But a good way to solve that is by actually increasing the inventory, but that is a huge investment, and many companies can't afford to do that. On the other side, you could have way too much inventory of certain items, and once you realize you have excess inventory, maybe items that are obsolete, and you have to go out and sell them, for whatever you can, so you could get rid of those items that you don't see you're going to be able to sell, pretty soon, or even consume those items. Or, very important, you have a warehouse that is either disorganized, you don't know where the items are, you don't know where to put away the items, and you have way too many people managing and handling the inventory at the warehouse. So there are many, many changes and challenges when you manage inventory in a company. And again, this is linked not only to the investment and the profitability of the business, but also to the service level that you provide to your customers. So the first thing that I want to bring to the attention covered today is what is the cost of inventory. There are many concepts of the cost of inventory that we disregard, that we don't put attention to, and we should. I'm going to explain some tools and techniques to reduce some of these costs that, again, could be hidden and could be significant. And then talk a little bit about forecasting as well, which is a very good way of planning, how to replace inventory and when, not only of finished goods, but also parts, components, etc. So the cost of inventory that we usually take into account is the purchase price of the items or materials or or whatever we have. And that is simple, right? I mean, that's what we know, how much are we paying for an item. I paid $10 for this widget or for this part. That is my cost. But there are some of the costs that are included with, for example, the cost of ordering, finding the item, finding the vendor, contacting, making an agreement, negotiating, and then having the items delivered and received, sometimes across the ocean. So these are what we normally call the landed costs, all the costs of getting the item to the warehouse. However, when we talk about landed costs, we usually take into account only shipping charges, maybe custom duties, the port charges on those type of expenses, and those are added. But the cost of the people doing the buying, the people contacting, negotiating, making agreements is a cost that is usually not added to the cost of the inventory. That is part of operations, and that might be okay, but we should be able to make a more efficient purchasing of my items that I have to use. One cost that is really significant that most of the companies are not taking into account is the carrying cost of items. So carrying the physical space, handling, so scanning, putting away, bringing the items down to the shipping area, the personnel that is manipulating the items, security, insurance costs. So there are a lot of expenses of just having inventory stored at our warehouse. And this could be either my own warehouse or maybe a logistics warehouse, a 3PL, when they're actually taking care of most of these expenses. But delivery is not free. They have to charge for that, and they have a rate, and they charge for every transaction, for the space used, for many of those components. And I could, again, consider that as an expense, or I could eventually charge that to the cost of my inventory. As I mentioned before, the cost of shortage, I run out of inventory. What is my cost? How much money am I losing for example, not being able to deliver goods to my customers? What is the effect that it has on customer service? How can I keep track of that? How many occasions I have run out of inventory and that has affected the service level to my customers? Or how many times I have run into excess inventory with some of the items, but I thought I was going to sell quite a lot of those, and they ended up selling, below expectations. And everybody disregard those items. They are put away in the overflow area, and you don't take care of them. They are just sitting on my warehouse, and at a certain point to do something with that. Either I scrap it, I sell it, or I have to do so. The problem is that with shortage or excess inventory, especially with excess inventory, we don't monitor that. We're not monitoring what are the items that I have excess in, and the ERP system and SAP is pretty good at that, can provide that information to you very handy. So you could go ahead and do something with those items. If you just got them vendor, recently, maybe you could return those to the vendor. Or that this is going out of fashion pretty quick, or there's new technology coming out. So the sooner you get rid of those items that are becoming kind of obsolete, the better. So when we talk about the cost of inventory and why this is important, let me explain that in words and then in a graphic. So the first thing is the cost of inventory usually represents 30 to 60% of the assets of the company, and that is really significant. So in order for the company to carry business, they have to either get money from the investors, or they have to get a loan, or they have to finance the inventory from vendors. It has a cost, and it's significant. So a company doing business and doing the same type of business that has half of the inventory, I can guarantee is twice as profitable or 3 times as profitable as the company that has more inventory in order to carry the same type of revenue. So whatever we do to reduce the inventory, but at the same time being able to maintain the service level to customers, and maintain the revenue level is going to have a significant positive impact on the operations. Again, obsolete items are expensive. They take a space, they degrade, they break, and as time passes by, it gets worse and worse. I have to use more warehouse space than needed sometimes when I have excessive inventory, or maybe way too much people involved managing the inventory. So these expenses can be tracked, but usually these are not necessarily allocated to the cost of the inventory. So that is something to take into account. So with this graphic, I would like to illustrate what is the impact of cost of the inventory. Let's say that we have two companies, one that rotates the inventory every month. So whatever they purchase, they store, they transform, they inspect, and they deliver to customers in just a month, which is that I have, let me see if I can, laser pointer here. So you see this company that turns inventory in just a month, and at the same time they're probably receiving new goods and starting the cycle again. So in a quarter they could turn inventory 3 times. Other company on the same business could have the same vendors purchase the items and then put them away, and then use them in production, inspect them, store them again, put them into the finished goods, and then deliver the items to the customer. And that cycle, and I'm exaggerating a little bit here, is taking 3 months. So this is a slow, turnover company, and this company is going to need a lot more cash to support the operations. The cash is represented by the area below, or behind the red line or behind the blue line. So the company in blue could afford to sell cheaper and still make more money. So even if you get the items a little bit more expensive, let's say that even 25% more expensive, if you're quick enough and the total cost of the finished goods is even higher than the company moving slow, the returning the inventory slow, if they do this type of operation 3 times in a quarter, they could be making $30, assuming that let's say the sales price is $120, the cost is $110 in this case, so they rotate the inventory 3 times, they're making $30 or $30,000 or $30 million during a quarter. While this company that is only rotating the inventory once in a quarter is only making 20 or 20 million or whatever. So this company has a plenty higher cost, but they're making a lot more profit than this company. Just to take that into account. So as mentioned before, warehouse management, this is where an area where companies put a lot of emphasis on, but not enough, in my opinion. So yeah, I have my warehouse. I know that I have to be more efficient managing my warehouse, for example. I need to find better ways of storing and being able to fetch or search for an item quickly, so I don't lose time or waste time looking for something, especially items that are or slow rotation, that I consume too often. So all this, the way that I manage and handle my warehouse could be very, very expensive, and there are very good solutions to become more efficient on managing the inventory. But I would like to mention something here. I could have thousands of items. Do I want to be super efficient managing every single item? Do I need to manage every single item that I have in my warehouse in exactly the same way? Maybe not. Maybe I just have to focus on certain items that are called A items and focus a little less on the C class items, C parts, right? So this is Pareto, where I say, my A items are the items that represent, that are probably 20% or sometimes even less than that, maybe 10% that represent 80%, for example, cost of my inventory. So I need to be very, very efficient managing these 8 items. And I'm not necessarily working, in that much detail, a lot of planning, and and a lot of analysis on the entire portfolio of items that I just need some of them that are the most relevant ones, right? But how do you classify the items in A, B, and C? There are 3 ways that we suggest, you classify the items in inventory. And again, all this is not related to SAP. These are concepts that we need to manage. So and let me move to the next slide and explain what are those ABC classifications that I can pretty quickly implement. So the first one I have is sales. Sales means the revenue that I have is coming probably 80% of just 20% of my items. So I cannot afford to run out of inventory of these 8 items that I have classified in here, because if I run out of inventory of these items, class A in terms of sales, I won't be able to meet my expected revenue. So forecasting, monitoring the status of the stock, making sure that I don't run out of inventory on these 8 items is super critical. The B items that are maybe the next 30%, 40% of the items, if I run out of them, I would say that the impact on the total revenue that I'm going to get in sales not going to be that significant, but it could, it could. And if I run out of inventory, one of the C parts, provided this is not necessarily needed in order to be able to sell an A item. If I run out of C items, the impact that I'm going to have in the total revenue of the company is going to be limited. So that is the first classification that we suggest we do, by sales, by revenue for the company. And again, this information is used to do good forecasting, good monitoring, see if I have enough stock to meet the expected sales during a period of time. The second way of classifying is what is the value of my stock. All right. So in this case is, okay, I have 30 million in inventory. But of those 30 million in inventory, I have some items that are really expensive. Those are my A items. And there are some that are really, really cheap. Those are my C parts. Maybe these are equipment that I have, when I sell machines that are expensive. D parts, or maybe supplies, spare parts. And maybe the C parts are packaging material or some other material that I have in stock that are not really significant in terms of the cost of my inventory. Okay, so this is another great way of classifying the value of my inventory. And I can use this, for example, to get the analysis of when I use C parts and the stock value of C parts. Maybe I could very easily that are obsolete items that I have, a lot of inventory.
Andres, we can't hear you right now. I believe Andres got disconnected. I apologize for this. Let's give him some minutes and to see if he can recover his audio connection.
So I think my phone disconnected. Can you hear me well now?
Yes, you're back. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. I hear beep, so I imagine that was the issue. So let me connect here. I'm glad we have Plan B here. Let me know if you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you, Andres.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, and the last C or the last way of classifying my inventory is for picks. Picks is how many times I have to go out to the warehouse and pick items. So I could have items that I pick regularly all the time that are very popular because these are items I sell quite a lot, and those might be cheap. Those might have a minimum impact on the total revenue, but these are popular items that many customers are requesting, right? And I could have some items, C parts, classified based on picking, or in hit rate is called, that I don't sell that often. So what I can do with those is organize them differently at the warehouse. So I could say all my items that I pick regularly, these 8 items, I put them together, at the front of the warehouse. So I don't have to, all the way to the back of the warehouse to pick those items that I, again, consume frequently. So the first measures that I want to mention here is regarding ABC is that we have these queries, these reports available. If you don't have them, if you're not using them, please contact your consultant or contact me, and I'll make sure that we set up these ABC analysis reports so you could get them, put them in practice, and use them to analyze what are the items that are super critical that you can afford to lose or run out of inventory, or those which are the items that are obsolete that you have to go out and sell them as quickly as possible. Or what are the items that are super popular that I pick all the time, so I need to put them together at the front of the warehouse. So let me show you what we find regularly when we go to a new customer when we do an implementation. So you normally find a warehouse that is organized in a logical way, and sometimes you have to do it. So don't take me wrong, sometimes you have to do it. So first of all, you have a receiving and shipping area, maybe receiving on the left, shipping on the right, or vice versa. And then you organize the warehouse based on the type of items. You have plastics, chemicals, electrical, packaging, supplies, and then you might have an area at the warehouse where you have to keep certain items because the items require certain temperature or humidity, or because are items that are have to be stored in a cage because they're super expensive, or for whatever reason. So you might have an area that is freeze that you can't really do much with it. And then you have at the back what is called the overflow of bulk. This is where you store the excess inventory. So the first recommendation that we would like to do regarding the allocation of, or the way that you organize a warehouse is to run the hit rate ABC analysis. So the popular items, the ones that I pick the most, and put those items all together as much as possible. So, all right, I'm going to put all my 8 items together. So people doing shipping don't have to go all the way to the back of the warehouse to pick the 8 items. So most of the items that are A are very close to the front of the warehouse. Then you have the B items, and then the C. The freezer or the cage or whatever it is that you need, the lock, is hard to move, at least in the short term. So you just keep it where it is and leave in the overflow bulk, whatever you have in excess inventory that you don't think you're going to be consuming in the next few days. So something that we suggest is run this ABC analysis. Do it, for example, before you do a cycle count. Do it before you have a high season, high seasonality sales in your business cycle. So do it before. Or if you do a lot of deliveries on Mondays, then use Friday to reorganize the warehouse, run the ABC, reorganize the warehouse, make sure that you have all the warehouse, all the items on the correct location. So when you start doing the picking and the shipping, the productivity of the personnel at the warehouse is increased. The second thing is implement a WMS. Implement the resources that you have from SAP, in this case, to manage bins. And there are very good warehouse management systems today where you could have the different locations, where you could have the different bins with different characteristics. You could create restrictions. You could define what is the sequence of picking. So managing bins is a great option to improve the way that you handle the inventory. But be sensitive too that if you create bins, then you're going to have to enter an additional piece of information every time you do an inventory transaction. So be aware of that. If I start creating bins, and I create way too many bins, then I might need to do a lot of additional scanning or additional transactions, because I not only have to say I'm picking this item, but I also have to say I'm picking this item with this batch and from this specific bin that I have here at the warehouse. But with a good WMS, with a good handheld, managing the process is going to help a lot. The WMS, the warehouse management system as well, is going to help you improve the way that you pick items at the warehouse and reduce the time that it takes, so improve the speed. So that is really, really important. Something interesting to mention is that if you have a third-party logistics and you're not really managing bins, you want to have an image of the inventory that you have on your logistics company. So let us create the integration between the inventory in SAP with the inventory the logistics company. So every time they do a transaction with your inventory, that is reflected back into SAP. Or every time you do something, they're notified so they could act and take action on your inventory very fast, very rapidly. So you could reduce the time it takes to do, for example, a delivery. The second thing that, or third thing that I would suggest, once you run the ABC reports based on your inventory and your history, identify those items that are about to get obsolete. So before they get really, really obsolete, or before they become vintage items and you could sell for a big chunk of money, get rid of them as quickly as possible. That is using warehouse space. You have to pay insurance for those items, and they deteriorate, they break. Many things can happen. And by the way, if you have excess inventory, one of our customers' business is actually getting rid of obsolete inventory. So we'll be glad to put you in contact with a customer of ours for many, many years, who are experts in finding the right customer for any products that are becoming obsolete. So let us know. Again, run the ABC and see what is the status. Let me now switch briefly to some of this information in SAP. And before, let me show you, what are the type of information you're going to be able to see. Implement as well the key performance indicators that SAP offers. If SAP doesn't offer, then because you're not using the SAP on HANA, for example, that offers a lot of key performance indicators and metrics that are super important, that helps you monitor those key indicators of financial performance. You could go to a web page like kpalibrary.com and based on your business, based on your role, identify what are potential good key performance indicators, and we'll be glad to help you build using something like Crystal Reports or a query or whatever, build those indicators using the SAP on Microsoft SQL. Again, in HANA, you have already available. In other systems, you don't. So In SQL, you don't have them. So once you do the ABC classification of items, and you know that there are certain items that are super critical, the 8 items in terms of sales, then implement replenishment tools. And replenishment tools means for these 8 items, use something like forecasting, very advanced, sophisticated forecasting tools. SAP offers some good financial, statistical models to do forecasting for you. And he's going to tell you, it's going to take, they're going to take into account seasonality, for example, all those, and they're going to be able to provide to you when you have excess inventory that, makes sense for you to take care of. Use the analytics that the system comes with. And for the items that are classified as B or C, use reorder point. Let the system just suggest inventory for maybe a month or 2 weeks or whatever it is, taking into account how easy it is to replenish an item, and let the system give you alerts. This item that you could get in a week, we have inventory, for example, for 2 weeks. So go ahead and launch a purchase order from the vendor so you could get enough before you run out of inventory, for example. So that's part of the analysis when you define how to do replenishment planning for the items. Use forecasting, use material requirements planning, use those tools for those items that are 8 items that are very seasonal, that are expensive, that have a long lead time to replenish. And for the rest of the items, that should be maybe 80 or 90% of the items, just do reorder point. Let the system suggest what is the recommended inventory based on lead time, build some alerts, let the system manage that for you. And the system is going to tell you, when to replenish most of the items. Because doing forecasting and doing good analysis of replenishment and doing the monitor of the vendors takes time and is expensive. So just do it for those items that are really, really significant in terms of cost. Before switching to the system, the key points to take home are run ABC analysis. If you don't have the ABC queries implemented and running, talk to your consultants, send us an email, send a ticket to support, and we'll be glad to set them up and configure and customize those ABC query reports for you. Implement strict replenishment planning for your key items. So for these 8 items or items that are hard to get with a long lead time from vendors, plan it very well. Run the ABC to identify obsolete items early as possible. As time passes by, the items that are becoming obsolete are harder and harder to sell. Those that are in the fashion business understand that perfectly, right? I have a new collection, I can still sell this collection. But if if my item's 2 collections old, I won't be able to sell it, at a good price. Same with electronics or consumer electronics or, small appliances or, anything related to technology. So manage obsolete items regularly, take action on those as quickly as possible. And again, implement the tools that SAP offers. Whatever you measure, you manage. What you don't measure, you don't manage. So be aware of that. So can you see my screen on SAP? I hope you are.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So what I have done is, this is a version 10 in SAP, where I can have a lot of interesting key performance indicators. For example, I want to keep my inventory below, let's say 12 million. I could set up a target. So I see this in red. I am at $13.12 million. Red means that it's growing. So if I have this visibility, I could, pretty quick act on it. what is going on? What happened? I usually are around 10 million in inventory. I have like 31% more than usual. So let me check it out. I don't have to wait for the financial statements at the end of the month when it's a little too late to act on them. So yeah, let's have this visible so I can see it. Another metric, remember the graphic that I showed that shows you how many items the inventory is turning? This is a very good way of monitoring that. So the more I rotate inventory, the better. So if I can say get the same revenue with less inventory, this is going to increase, right? So let me try to increase, let's set up some aggressive metrics. And I could modify this key performance indicator to show me colors, you know, yellow, red, blue, green, so I can see where I am pretty quick. And then I could have, you know, what is my other metrics? What are, for example, my best-selling items? What are the items that I have that are affecting, you know, that are like class A items? I could also have, you know, my open transactions. I could create some type of widget that will allow me to reduce inventory. For example, I have sales orders that I have to deliver. I have 43. You know, let's set up some actions so I could deliver the items as quickly as possible, so I can, you know, reduce my sales cycle and convert that investment in inventory in cash back as quickly as possible. And SAP gives you as well this type of graphics that, again, if you're running on SQL, we could use this as a basis to maybe build your own reports in SQL that are relevant. So in addition to that, I have you know, other metrics that are very interesting, and I can play with them. So for example, this is an inventory status analysis that comes with SAP on HANA, where I see, okay, this is my inventory of items that I sell quite a bit, but they're faster moving as well. So these are my kind of my A items, but these are the items that are potentially obsolete. So this, if I click here, then the system is going to show here, and I could play with these dials here. I could move it, and you know, that is going to show that I have a couple of items that could become obsolete pretty quick. I have, for example, this item here has a high value, and I'm not moving this item quick enough, $346,000 here in inventory. So if I move the cursor to that button here, to this point, I see that is a JD Office print painter where I have, you know, a high value. I have a lot of, and I'm not selling this item very often, and I have 1,200 of those. So yeah, I gotta get rid of them. So yeah, there are so many things that I could do, you know, pretty quick. That yeah, I need to move and work on them, you know, quick. So if I go back, I could also come here with items that I'm selling quite well, but I don't have enough. So I need to do something with this item. So if I move here, I could see pretty quick that this is an item that I'm selling quite well, has some value, but I don't have enough to meet the demand. I might run out of it because I'm rotating the item quite a bit. So I move here, then I see at the top in yellow, this graphic changing. It is really, really interesting, and they have some more, but I don't want to bother you with a lot of graphics. The message that I want to come across is there is information in SAP. Just think about what are those critical you know, pieces of information that you want to take. So these are ABC analysis reports that I wanted to show. We're you know, almost at the end of the presentation. So if I run, for example, this stock report and I select warehouse 1, then the system is going to tell me these are the items, the 8 items, you see that here, that represent the highest cost of my inventory here. So I have 16,000 units at a price 139. That is a value of 2.2 million. Of this second item, I have $695,000 in inventory. So you see that, and what are my items that are more relevant or have the highest impact in the cost of my inventory. And this is cumulative. So up until here, all these items represent almost 75% of the cost of the inventory that I have. And there is one that represents 17% of the total cost in inventory in this warehouse. And all these items, these few items here, 17 items, represent 74% of the cost of inventory for me. So, so this is one of those ABC reports I could run. I could say, what is the consumption, for example. And if I click in here, ABC, again, is order on ABC items. But if I click here in descending order, so these are the items that most likely are going to be obsolete pretty quick, those D items. So I could get these items, work on them, and see what I can do to reduce the inventory that I have. And in cost of goods sold, I could say, okay, show me, for example, for this year until, let's say, today, what are the items that have represented the highest revenue for me or cost of goods sold for me? So I have sold 200, this is the price, this is the total cost of these items, 316,287. And this is again for the whole year, right? So there are 3 items that are represent, high, percentage of the cost of the item that I have sold. And, I have all the way to here, and then I come down to these other items. So with just 9 items, I have all my A's and B's. So that represents like 99%. All the rest are really marginal with regards to the total cost of the cost of goods sold that I have sold. Again, these are ready. You might customize them as needed. And again, the message is just use them properly and you're going to become more profitable. At this point, I'm going to, I want to know if we have any questions.
So far, Andres, we only have one question. One of the attendees was asking if this session was being recorded and it was going to make available for them. The answer is yes. It's being recorded, and you will receive an email tomorrow with the link, so you can replay the session or share it with your colleagues. And while if somebody else has any other questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. In the meantime, I'm going to be sharing through the chat the links that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. These links are also included in the email that you will receive tomorrow. And basically, are links to access our previous webinars and other content that might be of interest to you. So again, we'll wait for a minute or two to see if somebody else has any questions.
Would it be possible for me to turn on my camera, please?
Let me see if I can. Try again, Andres? Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
All right.
So we have another question. The question is, in version 9.3, this configuration may work?
Yes, yes. The SAP adds additional key performance indicators and graphics, but the ABC reports that I showed, they're going to work in 9.3. And many of these indicators like, rotation, turnover, inventory, they work also in 9.3 on HANA, yes.
Okay, thank you, Andres. We have another question now. Is there an inventory aging report in Business One?
Oh, that is a real good question, Albert. I owe you that answer. I believe there is. The inventory agent report, there is one for example, batch control items, but yeah, you could have that. And if not, I know that we have built some type of reports like that for all the customers, Albert. So I owe you that.
Okay, so I think those were all the questions. Thank you very much for attending. Andres, thank you very much for sharing this information. You know that we are always available. If you can think of an additional question, you can always send us an email, and we'll be glad to reply to your email. And we are here to help you with any of these challenges if you're experiencing them, and implementing any of the strategies that Andres mentioned. Have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we appreciate your participation, and I hope you're going to join us in the next webinar that will be announced soon.
Yes. Thank you, Andres.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.